Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here, Golden Opportunities Coaching. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is discuss psychological, emotional, and coaching related topics in a discernible way. In an audio format. There's nearly 250 choices for you to choose on the channel now, ever growing. So hopefully there's something here that's useful to you. If so, please like, subscribe, comment below. If there's an audio you'd like to hear, please comment that below as well. We usually can do that within a couple of days. Today we're going to talk about things to say to people that struggle with depression or other emotional or mental illnesses. You know, there's a lot of people that are struggling with things. They don't exactly know how to help. Also, there's a lot of people that need support but don't know how to ask for it. So if we're prepared as loving caregivers or loving partners or loving friends and family, we can help a person get through a difficult patch in life by being prepared. So the first thing, the most important thing to say is that we care and that won't change. So one of the big fears that people with emotional instabilities have is that if they say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, act the wrong way, can't control their emotions, have their emotions, negatively affecting them, that they're going to get judged, they're going to be condemned, and that we'll stop caring about them. And so the security of knowing that our level of caring for someone is not determined by their action or their emotional state is very important. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean tolerating abusive or abrasive or extremely inappropriate behavior continually, but if you're dealing with a person that has a mental or emotional instability, the chances that they could act out of character for themselves from here to there or from time to time does exist, and you need to be real with yourself about how committed you are to helping a person reestablish and re-find themselves should that occur. Now, that doesn't mean, take physical abuse or mental abuse or verbal abuse, but it does mean, hey, if they say something harsh and then they apologize for it immediately and they are working on it and you see changes, be a little more tolerant than you would be with a person that has, no history of mental or emotional illness. The next is that you'll listen. And listening means not giving advice. It means just listening. It allows them to process what they're feeling and thinking without fear of condemnation or judgment because you're just there. And only give advice if it's asked of you, and if it's asked of you in an open and honest way. Hey, I've been thinking, what do you think about? Hey, I don't really know what to do with this. Could you help me? In other words, let the person who's struggling with depression ask for the help they need and ultimately express when they need help. Don't overstep boundaries. Don't assume you know what's best for them. The quickest way to chase away someone that has a different worldview, be that from psychosis, be that from depression, panic disorder, or anything else, is to immediately tell them what to do. Because their brain is immediately going to go, you don't understand or you don't want to understand. You're just going to give me advice that I've heard before. Please go away now. Whereas if you're actively listening, tell me, good questions. Hey, tell me about how you're feeling. Teach me about what it's like to go through your day. Tell me, teach me, help me understand. These are key phrases that when a person with depression or other mental illnesses is struggling, they hear these things, and it's almost like creating a bridge or a safe space. Also, make feelings okay. What I mean by that is, if they need to cry, let them know that crying is okay. If they need to yell and just let it out, let them know that that's okay. If they need to admit that they want to do physical harm to somebody, but they're not going to do it because they know that it's wrong, make sure that's okay. If they need to say, I'm going to say this, doesn't mean I'm going to act on it, that's okay. Obviously, if they are formulating a plan to go harm somebody physically or harm themselves, obviously you need to call in a professional at that moment. And there are those circumstances where we do need to step in on people we love because they're not making wise decisions. But 95 to 98% of the time, letting a person know that their ability to express what they feel is okay is something that we all can do if we decide to do so. So another common thing that people with emotional or mental instabilities need is they do require perhaps the idea to be presented to them that going for physical help, be it from a counselor, a life coach, a psychologist, psychiatrist, or a combination of all the above, would be helpful. making that okay too is a good idea. But that needs to be done with two things in mind. Number one, they're going to feel judged if you say, hey, you need to see somebody. They're going to feel judged whether you mean that to be judgment or not, because who wants to hear that they can't handle their own life, right? Like, in reality, who wants to hear, my life is so messed up, I need a professional to help me. So you might want to say to them, I know people that have been in similar situations. They've gone for help before. There'd be no shame in you doing that, and a new perspective might help you. And if you're not comfortable in going, I'll go with you to the session, or I'll help you find somebody, or I'll be there for you after you talk to them to make sure you're okay. In other words, making it an option but not a demand, and asking them also what they've tried for treatment methods might be a good idea. You might find out they've gone to 2 therapists who weren't worth jack rabbit, and they're hesitant because they have had bad experiences in the past. You might find that they are working with somebody and it might not be the right fit for them. You might find they're working with somebody that doesn't have the right speciality. And so that can be a challenge too. And one of the things I say to people all the time, I work with many therapists who don't specialize in trauma recovery. They have a general knowledge or working knowledge of trauma recovery. Where I specialize in my coaching practice is trauma recovery. And so I get therapists all the time who refer clients to me because it's not their specialty and they don't feel as adept at it. Now, there are people I refer out all the time too, folks that have certain mental disorders that I'm not qualified to work with, I'll refer out. Or someone with suicidal ideation that is not responding to the training I have, I will refer out. So it's also finding the right fit for the right person in the right time. They have to be ready to receive it. They have to believe that it will help. That's another one too. If a person doesn't believe that a treatment method, no matter what the method is going to help, it doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter how qualified the person is. If they don't have the ability to believe that help is possible, then honestly just save your breath because it's not going to work. And I know for some people that's really dark, but the reality is a belief that change is possible, positive change can result, is required for things to be worthwhile. So the next thing is ask if they need help with something. Maybe cooking meals at the end of the day is difficult. Maybe they need to have somebody organize their paperwork. Maybe they need someone to drive them places because they get nervous behind the wheel. Ask what you can do to help and understand that what you can do to help might change week to week, month to month, or year to year. So a person that has a prolonged history of emotional instability might have a different needs portfolio every 3 months or every 6 months or every year based on where they are stages in life. And they might need you a lot for a little while, a few months, and then they don't need you as much. Now, don't burn yourself out and only commit to what you can fully, functionally commit to. If that's 1 day a week, if that's 1 day every 2 weeks, if that's an hour once a day, whatever you can commit to and have it not negatively or adversely affect your life in a way that you can't function and you're taking on responsibility for their choices or their emotional state, do that. But that's another thing. Encourage them to talk it through, if not with you, with multiple people and with different people. So sometimes that just means encouraging them to talk about things that are bothering them. Other times it means, though, talking about dreaming or things that they want to do when they feel better, or just kind of activating a different part of their brain to where hope is possible. When I'm not anxious, I'd really like to try karaoke someday, but I'm never going to be good enough to do that. And then you say to them, when you talked about karaoke, maybe we could do that right here in the living room and it's just you and me. Now, it may not be the same as going to a karaoke bar, but for them it's a little bit of progress and they feel like, hey, something's changing. And that's the other thing too, celebrate progress. So celebrating progress looks different for different people. But if you have someone who has an anxiety disorder or depression, and they conquer it even for a day or for a week, showing up with their favorite coffee or chocolate, or getting them a book about something they're interested in, or supporting a hobby they're interested in while they're going through the recovery process, it's so valuable. And it's not the tangible gift that matters. It's the fact that you thought enough of their progress to acknowledge it that really matters and really counts. And it's super valuable and super helpful to do that. And so these are just some things to do when you're dealing with someone with depression, but this also applies to things like panic disorder, anxiety, things of that nature too. If you know someone that's struggling, encourage them to get whatever help they're willing to receive, but also know that you can be a major person in their recovery process. Till next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment.